Hey guys, welcome to another remodel. We are in another remodel. Keep watching, keep watching. Welcome back to the Carpenter's Touch, the podcast. This is your host, Junior Garcia, and today we have a special guest. His name is John. Or is it Jay?
John, Jay.
Michael?
Jacob.
It's Jay, and it's Jay from Power. He's a solar guy, and today I want to bring something different, right? Everybody's talking about going green, going solar,
green.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do that. You know something? Why choose solar, right? But you know, before we get into the solar, and everybody wants to get into the solar,
Nitty-gritty, yes.
I wanted to ask you, you know what I'm saying, what is your, you know, if you had to choose a meal, right?
A meal? Okay.
A meal, right? Like, and we went out to dinner. Let's say after the podcast, hey, let's hit it up. You know, we'll go out to dinner and stuff with the guys, with Pete, and maybe take Brian, right? Would it be Puerto Rican food, or would it be Dominican food?
That's a great question. Honestly, to be quite honest with you, I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. I would say neither. I would say Peruvian. Honestly, bro, I get some lomo saltado. You already know what's up. Yeah, man, I love me some lomo, man.
Listen, you're zero.
They're like already thumbs down.
You're not bad and good. The answer was Puerto Rican or Dominican. He says Peruvian.
You know why I say that? Because honestly, in Jersey, I actually have really yet to find a restaurant that I like.
Right.
That's Puerto Rican or Dominican. Now, if you talk about New York, we're talking about Malecón. It's pretty good.
Right. So I've been to Malecón. There's good Dominican food up there. You know, I would definitely recommend for Puerto Rican. You know, taínos right here in Newark.
Oh, in Newark. Okay.
In Newark. So definitely. But the answer was Puerto Rican food. No, I'm just, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Why would you say Peruvian food? You know what I'm saying? Peru,
Yo, being transparent, man, yeah.
You know, what is it? Viste a lo pobre, you know?
Viste a lo
pobre, right? So, but
Lomo
definitely.
saltado, for those of you that Peruvians out there, shout out to Peruvians. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Definitely. But they're not playing in the classics like the Puerto Rican, Dominican. So now that you're half Puerto Rican and half Dominican. So who are you choosing for? Puerto Rican, Puerto Rico, or
putting me in the spot, man?
Wait, what are you talking about? Or wait, I'm gonna make it easier. USA, Puerto Rico, or Santo Domingo, right? DR, Puerto Rico, and we know the Dominicans are it. You know, they play. Puerto Ricans play too.
Yeah.
Right. But which team are you choosing?
I mean. It's putting me in a spot here, bro. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm Puerto Rican, Dominican. I love both.
Pero dile algo, papi.
When it comes to baseball, you would think the Dominicans are up there. You know, they're the ones that really play the most.
Right.
Known for, at least they had a lot more like professional players than Puerto Ricans did, right? I mean, I might be wrong. Who knows? But I'm assuming they did.
Wrong.
Okay. but yeah, I gotta go with my Dominican side.
Dominican side.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're going with Peruvian food and Dominican baseballs.
We're already starting it off.
So we're starting off wrong. You're probably a Mets fan.
Yeah.
So you know.
Absolutely not, bro. Definitely not.
So yeah. So today I brought Jay, you know, to bring you in because. Yep. You know, a lot of people ask me about solar, right? I had my solar experiences as well, and they actually came to my house, right? And I had a whole conversation with the solar guy. He came in, and it's probably been about 6, maybe 7 years ago. And what happened was, you know, they gave you the diagram. They'll tell you how much energy will produce, and then what happens is that they said, well, there's 3 trees in the back of your home. You got to cut all those 3 trees. Boop, 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 boop. In order for you to maximize on your solar, right? So that is going to be, I apologize, 4 trees. And those 4 trees will maximize your solar. But each tree is $3,000. So 4 times 3,000. It's $12,000 on top of the solar panels. So the guy was honest enough and says, you know something, it's not going to be good for you. So I said, all right, because I was going to I wasn't going to dig in my own pocket and try to get $12,000 to cut the tree so I can get solar, so I can be green. I mean, the whole purpose was that I wanted to get solar, right? Because I wanted to get solar, and then once I have solar, I will get, a Tesla, and then be able to charge the Tesla battery for my vehicle. So I'm really doing green, right?
Yeah.
But I was going to dig in my pocket for $12,000, knowing that, if they would have incorporated in the price, they said they couldn't. So that's why it kind of threw me off.
So they couldn't incorporate it inside the whole finance?
In the whole finance, they said no, it was totally independent. They have a tree guy they could recommend, but their price would be X amount of dollars, which was $12,000. And I said, you know something? No. Right? It's going to be a hard no, right? Because if they could have made it into an easy financing price of like $50 more a month, X times 50 months, whatever it is, right? I would have probably said yes, right?
Well, just to touch a little bit on that, acquiring about solar, it's very important to get multiple quotes, right? Some companies have things that they can do versus others, right? Some companies don't have the capability. I'll give you an example. Power. Okay. If I was sitting in front of you, I could have easily included that in the financing, right? Okay. So had you spoken to me, you've gone solar already, right? But have you spoken to another customer or client, contractor, whatever the case may be, unfortunately, some companies have, the most that they can actually do. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to actually, include that and stuff. So, it's important to get multiple quotes because one, you're shopping for rates, you're shopping for a better price, but there's certain things that you can get creative with. Like, for example, tree cutting, roofing is another thing. We can talk about that in a few, but yeah, that's important. That's actually, very, very weird because a lot of solar reps wouldn't even tell you stuff like that, believe it or not, man.
So I would say as a roofer, right? I'm a homeowner, and I say, hey, Jay, something? I want solar, and I want the solar in my house. Does somebody come on top of my roof, walks the roof, and says, Junior, we can't even give you solar because you first have to get the roof done, right? Yeah. I've heard other people say, something, once you get your roof done, we'll give you solar.
Yeah, so when it comes to that, it's very important. Again, whenever you want to get solar, we want to make sure, at least, when I do a consultation with a customer, you would definitely want to make sure that the roof is not at the end of its life, right? Because at the end of the day, it just doesn't make any sense for the company to install panels for then 3-4 years later having to replace them because you have to replace the roof. So it's a lot of more money that they would pay. So it really wouldn't make sense. So yeah, I mean, some people just don't qualify because their roof is just not adequate for solar, right? But most importantly, there's options for that, right? Including the roofing with the financing, right? So companies, again, don't have that option, but depending on the company you speak to, they might have that option.
So right now, I just finished a client's house in Staten Island.
Okay.
So they're a client that I enjoy because everything is through email. The communication is very, very high. So we got the lead. It was through Premier from Long Island. So Premier, he does James Hardy siding, he does roofing and stuff. He's from Long Island. He did Little Staten Island as well. And he says, I'm out of Staten Island. I'm back to Long Island. But guess what? I know Carpenter's Touch. He works in Staten Island. Give him a call. He'll do your roof. So in the process, he gave us the job. But the communication part was he had solar on top of his house.
Roof. Okay.
So he had 3 layers, and it was leaking. He just bought the house about a year and a half ago, and he says, "Can I get a quote? We want to get." I said, "All right," and we gave him the price. He agreed on it, with the Golden Pledge warranty and stuff. And then we had to wait for the solar people to come out. Guess what? The solar company charged them to remove the solar off the roof and then to reinstall it. Because they took on the new solar that they inherited, right? They wanted that, and it was producing enough energy, right? But the roof was shot,
Right.
So I say this because a lot of people are getting solar and their roof is shot, and they're still installing solar panels on shingles that have like 3 or 4 more years of life, and then all of a sudden 3 or 4 more years it's leaking, and they're calling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're calling you.
Yeah.
Or I would say the solar industry, right? Because, I mean, I've heard a lot of crazy stories out there for solar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you have a crazy one that
Man, yeah. Well, it's really. I'll touch that, but just to go a little bit about what you just said.
Right.
I mean, with us, here in Power, we definitely like to make sure that again the roof is adequate for solar. If you're looking at a roof that's like 25 years old, I mean, even if it's in great shape as we look at it,
right,
you really shouldn't be installing solar. So like some of the process that we go through when it comes to solar. Is the design. So the design goes through the process of saying, okay, let's go pull up when's the last time this roof was actually built. Because, I know they don't take out permits like you were saying in New Jersey and stuff. But there is some sort of literature to find out when this roof was, replaced. And based on that knowledge, they can kind of go by and say, hey, this customer has like a roof that's 25 years old. This person's gonna need a re-roof if they want to go and continue. But other companies, and I'll be honest, a lot of times it's those little mom and pop companies, those smaller companies that they're only in like New Jersey or like PA, the surrounding areas. A lot of those companies have a tendency of doing things like that, which is unfortunate. Again, it kind of just makes a bad word, spills a bad word to the solar industry, which it shouldn't be that way, right?
So what is the horror stories, right? Because we've heard like, oh, solar panels flying off my house. Channel News, ABC Channel News tonight at 7.
Yeah.
So what happens? Let's say, right? Because first, there's a difference between buying your solar system and then leasing it, right?
Right.
You if you're leasing, it's just like leasing a vehicle, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'll touch
on that. Buying, if you're gonna buy, it's yours. So if I'm gonna buy it, what's the warranty? If I'm gonna lease it, what's the warranty? I need to know what's the pros and the cons. What's gonna benefit me, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's very important to understand the difference between the two. A lot of homeowners go into solar just understanding the fact that they're going to save money on electricity, but they forget the other things around that, right? So I'll touch base on what's more important to know what's best for the customer, right? So there's other benefits of going solar the owning route, and there's benefits of going solar the leasing route, right? And I wouldn't, I would go as far as saying there's really no benefits that the owning option doesn't take care of that the leasing option has, right? So when it comes to solar, for example, and the warranty, right? The warranty doesn't really change as far as like the panels when you lease and when you own. At least not for Power. Maybe other companies it does, but for us, it doesn't really change.
So how long does the panels last?
So panels can last up to 50, 60 years, Okay. I mean, they're built to be out in the weather, right?
But I've heard that panels will, in time,
depreciate.
They depreciate, and you've been in the house 15 years. So it's not producing exactly the same as in the beginning, right?
Right. So they do depreciate after time. Typically, that's anywhere from more towards the end of their life. But a lot of times when you have a warranty built in, if for some reason the panels are not producing the way they should, there's a warranty involved where they can get them replaced. So if something's not being, like, for example, let's say 4 of the panels is one array, 4 of the panels are working, but the 5th one is not, we can replace that because that's in the warranty,
That's in the warranty.
That's in the warranty,
I would say, is it free of charge?
Yes, it's included. It's bumper to bumper, right? Okay. So anything wrong with the actual install, anything wrong with the, like I say, wiring, there's a lot of things involved. Inverters involved, there's the panels and stuff like that. So anything that's involving the solar system is definitely included in the warranty.
Does your company offer like a backup battery, right?
A backup battery? Yeah, absolutely. What I say, I'll be honest, in New Jersey, New York, this, eastern area is definitely not recommendable because this is an extra cost that just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
If you're living in a state like Florida, Puerto Rico, especially when they're losing power, like, I don't know, for like 3-4 weeks, it's more of an investment. There's not so much of a savings there.
Instead of having a generator.
Right, exactly.
You'll have that, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense on those type of areas, more like, Florida, Texas, Puerto Rico. New York area, New Jersey area, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. When we lose power here, we like maybe a day or so at max. I mean, for us, we lose power maybe for like 2 hours. So it's really not cost efficient for the customer. So yes, we do offer it, but do I recommend it for customers in this area? No.
So my question was,
I'll go back to the question. Yeah, so as far as leasing and
buy out,
and the owning,
I need to know.
Yeah,
should I lease these panels?
Yeah,
Come on.
That's a great question.
I need to know the answer.
Great question.
Lease?
So absolutely own. If you pay taxes in New Jersey, wherever it is that you live, Do not lease.
Do not
Absolutely
lease.
not. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I left my recent company.
Okay.
Yeah. So I work for a company. I'm not gonna say the name, but
They didn't give out free donuts.
they didn't give out free donuts. No. Free panels. No.
No.
But yeah. So essentially, they were really pushing leases, right? So unfortunately, that's just part of like a sales thing. So the way leases work is, for example, you have a tax credit. Everybody knows about the tax credit. Everybody knows about the incentives.
No.
Yeah, and I'll explain that in a second as far as like, the panels and stuff like that. But when you own, you get the tax credit, and you get, depending on the state that you live in, you get a state incentive.
So let's talk about Jersey. Right?
Let's talk about New Jersey. Okay, perfect.
So Jersey, I know Jersey, New York, and California. No, New Jersey, New York, Florida, and I think California they offer real good incentives, right?
So well, Florida doesn't. Florida just offers the sun, which is out all, it's out a lot longer than it is over here in New Jersey.
Okay.
So it's really, really beneficial in that case. So in a state like California, in a state like Florida, the rates are insane. So they don't really need incentives to go solar.
Right.
At that point, it's like, well, this doesn't make any sense for me not to go solar at that
Right.
point. But for New Jersey, I'll talk about New Jersey in specific, and if you want to talk about other states, I can. But New Jersey have an SRAC program, which is called Solar Renewable Energy Credit.
Okay.
And that is basically for every 1,000 kilowatts your system produces, you get $90 fixed, right?
Fixed, no matter what.
No matter what, right? And
So
that's
what would be an average home, right? An average home, let's call it 2,500 square feet. What would you need in kilowatts to produce, right?
2,500 square feet, depending. It really depends on the living situation. If it's just like, for example, a retiree is living there, it's hard to say. But excuse me, let's just say it's a husband and wife, 2 kids.
Right.
Typically, they're using about 10,000 kilowatts a year.
A year.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. So in that case, we want to have a system that gives them 10,000 or a little bit more.
A little bit more, right?
A little bit more. Unfortunately, in New Jersey, utility companies like PSE&G, JCP&L, they don't allow you to get a little bit over 100% offset. They just decline the application.
So what happens, let's say, okay, Jay, I want to get solar. I want to be at 100%, but guess what? I'm going to be adding this pool, and we're going to dig this pool. It's going to be $120,000, and I'm going to need to run that in the summer. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be able to do it because I don't have enough panels.
In that case, that's a little bit different.
Right.
So basically, what the utility company looks for is what you used throughout the last year, right?
Okay.
Or if you've been in the home for less than a year, what you use between that range. And then they basically calculate what your offset would be. And the design that we create for the customer is only something temporary. It's almost identical to what the PSE&G would, approve or not, but sometimes the design may change depending on what they come back for. But in reality, in this case, for example, if they're adding a pool and the last year they didn't have it, and that last year of consumption is reflecting them not having a pool, in that case, it's different. They can just send us receipts and stating, hey, we bought this pool, we're going to get this installed, and then we're going to be able to need more offset so that way we're able to get, the panels and whatnot. So that's totally fine. I've done that many times. I had a customer who got an attic and they made it legally and they actually got more heating, right?
Right.
That's actually the customer that was just calling now. but essentially, yeah, don't
call now.
Don't call now, yeah. So essentially, in that case, she had receipts. She sent it to me. I sent that over to the utility. Boom, got it approved. Good to go. So there is ways around it, but if you're not adding anything extra or anything like that, we kind of go strict on what you've used throughout the year.
You said, listen, let me share you. I was working at a different company, and the other company was kind of forcing me to kind of lease.
Yeah.
And they were forcing your lease, and you were saying you should do finance or you should buy it out because you're going to get the tax credit. In New Jersey, it's what?
Well, the tax bracket is federal, so it's any state, so 30%.
30%.
The SRAC, which is the $90 per every 1,000 kilowatts, that is only for New Jersey. PA has $46 now. It is, and
Wow, so
I believe
Jersey pays more.
Jersey pay more. If you're in Jersey and you have a home or you haven't gone solar, you need to come contact me. There's a reason why you haven't talked to the right representative.
Me first.
There you go. That's where I am.
Call me first.
Call me. Talk to me.
You need a roof
ASAP.
first.
Yeah.
And then I will call.
Exactly.
Then I'll call Jay from Power
yeah.
so we can hook you up.
Yes, we do it all.
Guys, For the regular homeowner that has no idea about the numbers you guys are talking about, be more specific on the numbers.
Okay.
I would say so 25.
Let him be more specific on the numbers. He said
so-
it's a fixed credit of what?
Yeah, I was getting there. So I'll give you a quick example.
Right.
So here we go. So
Let's
I'll
do some
pull out
numbers.
my calculator here.
I need to write this down.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay,
let's just say this
right.
customer, we got a customer and they produce 10,000 kilowatts throughout the whole year. So that's the system that we're getting for them, right? Take out your phones, guys. You guys ready?
I got it.
So what did I say? You get 1,000, right? For every 1,000 kilowatts, you get $90, right? So what does that mean? How many credits are you gonna get? 10, correct? Right? So for every 1,000, perfect. So what you do, you times 90, right? Times 10. That's $900, right? So what does that mean? That's the credit that they're gonna receive throughout the whole year. For example, for the SRAC.
Is that yearly?
That's every time they produce 1,000 credits. So it could be every other month. It could be, so like for example, there's only 12 months in a year, right? So if it's 10,000, clearly they're not going to get it every month. But it's going to be more than that.
Conectarle el cable a la vecina. Oye, vecina, coge aquí electricidad.
Yeah, but exactly. So back to that, what they do, they have a solar payment, right? They have let's say the solar payment is $200. Let's just say, right? Just for conversation's sake. So what they would do, you divide that $900, right, by 12, because there's 12 months in a year.
Right.
So that's $75, right? So $75, right? 75. Yeah, what's it? Got it?
Right. Got it.
You have to say your number here.
75.
Okay. $75. So they would deduct that 75 to that 200. So now their payment is 125, right? And that's SRAC that they receive. They get that no matter what. So like that has nothing to do with what they consume. Basically, you're producing cleaner energy. So what does that mean? That means because you're producing cleaner energy, now you're gonna get this incentive from the state, right? So that's the first incentive of owning. The other incentive of owning is the tax credit. Everyone's like, oh man, you get this tax credit. And by the way, before I explain the tax credit a little bit, I am not a CPA, so definitely consult with your CPA and make sure you do qualify for the tax credit. But most people do. But just consult, just consult with your CPA. But back to that, the tax credit is massive, right? Let's say a system for numbers sake costs $10,000. What does that mean? You get $3,000 back. That's 30%, right? So that's huge, right? That's you just because you're going solar, right? You're getting not only the SRAC, which I just explained, now you're also getting the tax credit. Because now
is the tax credit every single year? That's what I want to know. Am I getting $3,000?
Man, if it was every year, man, we would be millionaires. I'd be like that. Yeah, absolutely not. So unfortunately, it's not every year.
I'm trying to push it. I'm trying to push the
yeah, man.
the
Maybe we can talk to
harder.
Biden. Let's see what's up. But
yeah.
16.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. No, but essentially, yeah, it's only once. But
Right.
I mean, 30% of what you. I mean, it's free money.
30% of the purchase price of the panel.
Of the whole loan. So, for example, let's say this customer decides to do a roof. Guess what? That's included in the loan. So guess what? Now you get that 30% of that total. So including the solar with the roof,
Right.
you get that back.
But you get that back.
So by the way, we partner a lot with roofing contractors, aka we need to start working together. What's going on? But the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of we work a lot with roofers. A lot of customers want to go solar. They want to save money on electricity, and when they bundle the roof and the solar together, they get a higher tax credit.
So
that's
it's
excellent.
30 times, let's say the roof with solar and everything came out to $50,000. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
50. So 50 times 30. That's what
15,
they're.
Bobby,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I know.
15,000.
Yes.
So guess what? Now you're getting 15,000. Yeah. So that's
on a tax credit.
on a tax credit. Yeah.
Technically, you got it for 35 instead.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So which makes the utmost sense for the customers. I always tell people all the time, a lot of people, they don't go solar because they're just not educated on how it works.
Right.
People think sometimes they'll come to me and say, hey, Jay, how do you do solar, man? Solar is like so hard to sell, this and that. And I was like, listen, man, I take every consultation like very, very like subtle. I say, hey, listen, I'm here to educate you and tell you why this makes sense for you. If for some reason you feel it's not beneficial for you, then at the end of the day, we'll end this conversation and we'll say, hey, listen, you know what? Just like the guy did to you, listen, doesn't make sense. After going over everything that's going on, it just doesn't make sense. But for most customers in New Jersey, it just makes the utmost sense, man.
So it's for me, right? If I'm getting solar today, say you come to my house, you knock on the door. I don't want nothing. Get away from my door, right?
Yeah.
Generally, I'll approach you and then you tell me I'm here and I'm, able to give you a price on solar. Would you come in? Go through the process. But I don't want to go through the sales process. I want to go through, I said yes, I signed the documents. what is my next step? Because people don't know what happens. Yeah, what's next, right?
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh wait, what do I have to wait? Should I text Jay again? Should I email Jay? What's going on? And so in their mind, you know the process.
Right.
But as a homeowner, we don't know the process. What's
Of course, yeah.
behind the scenes? What's happening?
Right,
Because
right.
There's permits and there's other things involved, right?
That's very important. I mean, again, that's something that we as professionals, right? There's unfortunately other solar professionals that aren't as educated as others. So, you know, you don't ever want to approach, you know, a consultation very salesy. That makes sense. You want to make it more educational. You want to make the customer first and foremost feel comfortable about the decision. And we're talking about systems that cost anywhere from $20,000 to 100,000 sometimes, depending on how many pounds they need. So, you know, educating the customer, giving them like the whole spiel of what's going on from A to Z. This is what's going to happen. You know, when I do my consultations, I have a slide that shows A to Z. Here's the first step. First step is the savings, showing you how much you're going to save, exactly, you know how much you're going to be saving by switching to solar. And the second step is the site survey. Then after that's permitting, and then after that's install.
So site survey. So explain something about it. So what's site surveying? So you just said a word. Everybody probably doesn't know what site surveying is.
Probably not. No. Yeah.
Right.
So site survey is actually one of the most important steps right after signing the dotted line for the documents you like the savings. So site survey is essentially, you could be either an installer or someone as an assistant that's an electrician that would know about how to install a solar system.
Like the electrical panel, they look at the electrical panel to see if it's going to work or if they need to upgrade that electrical panel.
Right, exactly.
Somebody walk up on the roof.
So, listen, drones exist now.
Okay.
So now, you know, back in the day when they did solar, unfortunately, they had to go up in the roof. They had to go and check this, check that. We got drones now, so, you know, for those of you that still do that, it's kind of old school.
Yeah, we use drones all the time.
You do, yeah. So
But for video,
right?
For
So they actually,
inspection.
it's very common to use. If you have the right drone, you're gonna have like a $20 drone, right? It has to be like a really good drone. So yeah, if you have the right drone, it's crystal clear. They take the right angles, you know, to know exactly what needs to be done. And it's for safety reasons. You mentioned OSHA, I think, something like that. Yeah. So, you know, OSHA would appreciate it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did. I watched a little bit, man. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Did you like and subscribe? You need to like and subscribe the channel.
Like and subscribe to this man's channel right here. Yeah.
So
great content for sure. No, but you know, in all seriousness,
for safety.
For safety reasons, OSHA would appreciate, you know, someone using a drone versus going up, right? Especially in a rainy day, right? And again, you can't really fly a drone on a rainy day, but if it's like somewhat like slippery, it could be a big disaster for whoever's going up in that roof, right? So there's a lot of angles that you got to see. So the site survey is very important. The site survey is basically determining whether this customer is adequate for solar or not. So whether their roof is good to go, their main panel is good to go, you need a minimum of 100 amp to go solar. Most homes have that, right? People have this misconception that you need 200 amp. Just want to clear that out the way. I've sold many solar panels and systems without a 200 amp, so I don't know where that's coming from. That's totally incorrect. But essentially, it does benefit you, but doesn't really make a difference. Right. But back to the site survey. Essentially, that's pretty much the whole process. Really, they want to know two things. How's your roof? If you have a main panel upgrade or not? And that's really the main reasons why they're there.
So what happens after site survey? So we sign the contract, and the step 2 was site survey, and then you say, you know something, you're not good for, and you will go and tell the client, hey, let's scratch this contract. You're not good for solar, right? Or you would go to step 3, and step 3 would say, you know, you're good for solar. We already signed the contract. What happens then? Do they get to choose panels? You know, because I'm going to say it right now. Mm-hmm. In panels, I've seen some panels that are so bulky, so ugly.
Oh, ugly?
I mean, ridiculous. I'm telling you, I don't like them, right? And I've seen people put, you know, the chicken cage around it because the birds are going, right?
There is some ugly panels.
Some real ugly. And then I've seen some real thin ones, really low to the roof. They have even like, it's almost like a louver.
There's almost like tons of iPads on the roof, which is nice. It looks nice. Yeah.
So the birds don't go underneath, you know.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as like that, you know, if for some reason, I'll just touch on the first instance. If for some reason the roof is not adequate for solar, then we have another conversation, right? We don't really know that after consultation. So we would have to go back to the customer. Hey, how are you? Unfortunately, your roof is not adequate for solar. We're going to have to get a re-roof quote, and I'll let you know what the numbers are. And typically, the way I do things, right, I typically get that quote first because I kind of know that already.
You already know it.
Yeah, so that's it. But the good news is that we actually have a roofing contractor that we work personally with, and we're able to get you that re-roof at a wholesale price. So a lot of people don't realize, like, when you go solar, the best time to need a roof is when you want to go solar.
Exactly.
So because you'll get that at a wholesale price. You're not going to get that whether you get another company, you know, there's going to be a lot more money, right? Because they're just doing the roofing. So a lot of people don't realize that, but that is a huge benefit whenever you're going solar. So yeah, we'll just go back to the customer and let them know, hey, listen, fortunately, you know, we can't help you go solar unless you get this new roof. And we'll explain to them exactly what you said. You know, God forbid, 3 years down the line, you know, you get a leak because your roof is already at the end of its, you know, lifespan. And unfortunately, we don't want to be in that predicament. You know, our reputation is very important. We want to make sure that we understand that.
The next process would be selecting the panels. That's what we were talking about.
So selecting the panels is done at the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the actual consultation,
right.
I'm telling them what panels they're gonna get, what they look like. I actually go out my way, and I always go to all my installs, at least the ones that I can try to make, and I show them videos of what it would look like. You know, I know there's panels out there that look extremely ugly. I only sell the black on black panels, and they're kind of thin. Those are the Hanwha Q cells.
Oh.
Shout out to Hanwha. You know,
yes.
They're a pretty good company, and so those are the panels that I typically sell because one, they look good.
And they're thin.
And they're thin.
Very thin.
They're very thin.
Right.
And they're powerful. Believe it or not, man. People think back in the day when it comes to TVs that they're massive. Right. Now they're like super. Nah. They can do a lot more. So, you know, as far as like the panels, they're black on black. At least the ones that I saw. I don't know. I can't say anything for another company. But that's done at the very beginning. So as far as the panels, they already know what panels. They already know what's going to look like. So just to touch base as far as they need a new roof, very simple. I just go into to another consultation, explain to them how much more it would be a month, and obviously how much more it would be for the total cost as well. But the good news is you get a high tax credit, and sometimes that tax credit pays for the roof itself. Got it. So it just makes a lot more sense. That's why I say it makes so much more sense
that
to go solar.
$15,000 paid for the roof.
Oh, 100%. Right. Yeah. And some.
Finish the process.
So after that, let's say they're good to go, they're okay with the roof, then it's up to design. Design is basically when we submit the paperwork to the utility company. For example, let's say up here, what is it, PSCNG? PSCNG will review the documents as far as like, you know, what the offset is, making sure that it's not over that limit that they have. And once we get that approval, we'll send that back to the customer. Hey, listen, this is the final design. Please review. You got about 48 hours to review before we submit for permitting. So after the design is approved, typically is not much of a difference from like the initial design because we already have experience with that and know where the design should be. If people wondering where's the best side of your roof to put your panels, it's the south side. So everyone, you know, should know that. So essentially, that's the job of the sales rep or solar consultant.
Is there like, so I would say there's an engineer report, right? Engineer guy tells you these are where we are going to put the panels, and you can kind of move those panels on the roof on your 3D design and you know, this will kind of allocate the maximum of the sun energy that we're going to produce, right?
Absolutely. You definitely don't want to put no panels where there's like tons of shade. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. So you definitely want to put, and with the designs that we have now, I can actually customize. Let's say, you know, you have this roof here, you know, for those that you can't see it. Let's say the customer wants the panels on a metal roof, which we do, but that's an extra cost. But we could talk about that another day. But let's say this customer doesn't want it in the front, that we can easily just design them in the back. So the system we got, we can design them as I go. So it's pretty cool. I don't have to call my manager like other companies. You know, I won't mention any names, but don't have to call my manager and say, hey, listen, can you move the panels to the back? Right. With our system, it's totally flexible for us and give us the most, you know, options that we have in front of a consultation for the customer.
So I have a horror story, and because you know, my question to you, right, would be warranties, right? Everybody wants warranties. I offer warranties as a roofer. I offer warranties as a sider. I always stand behind. Look, today I went to Staten Island. They said, "Oh, Junior, you did the siding? It's leaking." So I ran over there. Me and the guys. It's raining today, so we ran over there to New Jersey because I stand behind what I do, right? Of course. And I went down there and Staten Island, New York. You know, the people are watching me. So we went to the house. It's a beautiful home. There's going to be a YouTube video in about 30 more days. It's a black home. It's the first black James Hardy home.
That siding?
In Staten Island, right? Nice. So we went over there. It's leaking by the patio door. And what happens, we went over there, and when we noticed is that the patio door was cracked.
Oh, wow.
But we went over there and we identified the situation, right? Why do I say that? Because we still have a warranty. I mentioned the word warranty. What is the warranty for solar, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you know, my cousin, listen to this, guys. My cousin hired a solar company to put solar on her roof. She put the solar on her roof. Guess what? After a couple of years, the solar company went out of business, and she has solar on her roof, solar panels. She now had to call the local PSE&G company and get electricity to produce in her house. Why? You know, this is a horror story. You paid for that. You got solar, and guess what? Now you gotta call PSE&G to connect my electricity. Yo, that's an epic fail.
Well, first and foremost, whoever did that, just so you know, when you go solar, you're never disconnected from the grid. So I don't know what happened there.
Right.
So if for some reason the panel stopped working, PSE&G is already connected, so it should just start working as normally did. I don't know what happened.
That
with
company
that
went out of business.
Well, for good reason, right?
Yeah.
Because clearly they're doing things the wrong way.
Right.
What I would say when it comes to companies, mom and pop companies, like for example, like they only service like 1 or 2 states, I would stay away from them when it comes to solar. And the reason for that is because a lot of times, like I said, they're just in it to make a quick buck.
Right.
They're not in it for the long run.
So I want to say, Jay, how does because this is a real situation. This is not
absolutely.
a story, right?
Yeah,
how does she get out of that situation? She has solar there. Can you help her out?
So my personal company cannot help her out. I do know companies that can.
Right.
There's companies that specialize in selling roofing, and they're roofers. So what they do is that they remove the existing panels.
Right.
And they take the panels out. They replace them with their panels. Right, because that's the only way you can kind of get out of that situation. Unfortunately, and so essentially, when it comes to the panels, it's hard for you to really understand what the issue is, right? Because it could be many issues. It could be a wiring issue. It could be one of the panels or whatever the case may be.
So, all right. So another company is not going to come in and says, you know something, I'm going to warranty these panels.
Yeah,
they're good, and now I'm going to finance this project for you. And then guess what? We'll start with the electricity, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they'll remove their existing panels because they can't warranty something that they didn't do.
Don't, right.
They're not. It's
so
just not
it makes sense
possible.
because let's say I'm just I installed an Owens Corning roof. It doesn't kind of work. Now I'm going to change it to, I see.
Right.
That I won't warranty that roof.
Right, exactly. So that's essentially what would happen in that case. But back to like the mom and pop companies or small companies that just do solar in little specific states, you want to be with a company, first and foremost, that's been in business for at least 5 years. Minimum. And then they're at least they are in at least 10 states.
How many states are you guys in?
We're in 25 right now.
25 states.
So at least 10 states.
Puerto Rico a state?
Puerto Rico just became a state in December. So you're Puerto Ricans.
Ya tú sabes, papi, you can get solar
me
over
llama
Puerto
cualquier cosa.
But in the baseball classics, we're Puerto Rican.
Yeah, pretty much. So you know, when it comes to stuff like that, to avoid things like that, people going out of business. Because what happens? You go out of business. So guess what? So is the warranty.
Can let's say hypothetically, right? Can she take the solar panels that are on top of her roof, get a new solar company come in, remove it, and then kind of give her a new system?
Right, yeah.
She would have to start from scratch.
She would pretty much have to start from scratch with this new company. Now, again, there's other ways around that as well.
Right.
But the most common one is basically a company will come in, right? Well, I'm not going to mention any companies, but a company will come in, and I know a few, that they basically would say, hey, listen, you know, we'll remove their existing panels because unfortunately we can't warrant any of this work that was done.
Right.
And they will replace the panels, put new panels, put an inverter, whatever they need, and they will warrant the job. And then
so I have another client, and Deck Express. You guys know Pete, the producer, knows Deck Express, and they're on Instagram and stuff.
Deck Express?
Deck
Express. Okay, sorry.
Deck Express, and he and his wife were gonna go get solar.
Okay.
Right. So we did the James Hardy siding to this house, and I said, Diago, you don't want to get the roof? And he goes, yeah, but I'm getting solar, so I have to wait. Now he lives in a nice area, but it's very woodsy.
Okay.
So the wife was very, very smart. She was very smart, and she went through the whole report. They signed the contract, went through the whole report, and it was only producing like 50%.
Wow.
It was only and then she finally made a executive decision and she said, you know something, it's only why get solar then? Why get solar if I was only producing 50%? So she said, Junior, you know something? We decided not to go with solar, come and do the roof for her. And so we did. We went in there and did the roof for her. But it didn't work out. What I was trying to get to you is that solar's not for everybody, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people mention, oh, why doesn't, the benefits are amazing, this and that and the other. Why has not every house in, New Jersey got solar? Well, there's many reasons, right? You can't go solar. One, you just don't get enough offset.
Right.
It could be the shape of your roof, right? Sometimes the shape of your roof, you can't fit a certain amount of panels, right? I'm not an engineer as far as like a builder, but I know for a fact
I've
that
seen them.
Yeah, there has to be like a 3 foot,
Like three skylights,
yeah.
Here, and the panels are not really, really, really good to put them on the.
Right.
I would say, you know something, just when you have a rental property, you can't put solar on a rental property. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Unless it's.
Well, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You can. I'll
but
explain to you. Well,
it gets a little difficult because let's say if you have 3 family and you're trying to put solar on that to,
Right. So yeah. So like that's the caveat. So you can't put it on every meter.
Right.
But I have a couple investors that I've dealt with, and basically what they do is they just they just make the rent higher.
Higher to pay for that.
To pay
cost.
for that. Right. Yeah. And then they
Right.
include the electricity because remember now you're producing your own energy.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that you're basically going to be paying a lot cheaper for electricity, and you're making more money. So there's ways around that. Obviously, ideally, a single family home would be the one that would benefit the most for sure.
What about commercial? Because I've seen, like, I don't know if you've been, like, driving around, Pete, like, up North Jersey, and then what happens, you see the panels on the floor. You literally see all those panels right on the floor.
Commercial is excellent.
A commercial is like, or on a carport. The carport is on, and you drive on a different car, and there's like 1,000 panels on there. Have you done a commercial one yet?
So me personally, no. Like I'm more on the residential side. I do eventually.
We're gonna get to major leagues with you.
Yeah,
this
man.
year.
Yeah, let's make it happen. But yeah, as far as the residential side is my niche, but I definitely want to get into the commercial. There's definitely a different aspect. There's more paperwork. The process takes a lot longer.
Right?
Yeah, but it's definitely beneficial. The commission checks are insane too for commercial.
So I would say, since we're talking about how long from the day I signed the contract, right? I signed the contract today, right? And let's call it March 1st.
Right.
When is the day that it's done from signing to choosing the panels to inspection to a new roof to installation of the panels or connecting with all the wires with the electrician? How long did it take?
So that's a great question. Great question. It's definitely case by case scenario, but I'll give you an average. Typically, it takes anywhere from 2.5 months to 3 months.
That's long.
If you're
That's
not in Patterson, oh my God, you're looking at 6 months. It's terrible. I don't know why. For some reason, it's
Wow,
really bad.
that's hard.
But every other city is pretty, it's pretty flexible when it comes like that. That's why it's important to understand it's solar's a first come first serve, so it's like everyone wants to go solar. I mean, I'm sure you've seen more and more houses go solar. So the more and more houses that go solar, the more and more demand that's on the municipal building. You got to do a lot of coding and stuff like
So my clients are one of my sales question is when we're going out to a roof estimate, we ask them, "Are you doing solar?" Yeah, we are. Send me the schematic of what the solar panel guy sent you. I need to know. Why? Because in that area, I put ice and water. Why? Because they're going to put screws in between with a bracket. I know that they caulk and they try to seal it, but I want to do an extra protection. So I'll put ice and water.
Gotcha.
So let's say, hypothetically, this is your gable roof, right? Let's call it, this is your gable roof.
Right.
The sun side is here, and all the panels are going to be here. That whole area is going to be ice and water, not this whole area.
Gotcha.
So that's why I always try to tell my clients, and maybe to my future clients that are going solar, you would send me that schematic and say, hey, these are where I already know.
You already know. You're already kind of in that avenue. And again, that's why I say roofers work a lot with solar, because it just makes more sense. Obviously, everything's put on the roof unless it's a ground mount. We do ground mounts as well. Okay. Those are very popular as well, believe it or not. You do need to have a minimum of 1 acre of land to have that.
Wow.
But aside from that, I mean, most of the the solar installs are done on the roof. So that's important to understand that.
Let's talk about the most important part. Monthly payments.
Monthly payment.
Monthly payment.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Monthly. Listen, you know, I brought something, Jay. See if Jay knows how to read this bill. Come
Hey.
on. All right, let's see if he knows.
no.
Hey, hold up. This is my bill for my office. Right? I'm not gonna show you the actual amount. I'm gonna show you because you want to do numbers, right?
Yeah, well,
So,
absolutely.
right,
Yeah. So, listen. At the end of the day, numbers is numbers. It really refers on every client. Not every client is gonna pay the same, right?
Got it.
A lot of people think, oh, well, why are you paying this amount and then this customer's paying the? It depends how much you consume.
And they choose the different type of panels and stuff like that. They have
Right.
one has more panels and some has
Exactly,
less.
yeah.
Got it.
Does your finance bill and your energy bill, is it the same thing now?
So.
Oh, you got a separate bill for your financing package with your solar.
So when it comes to solar, that's a great question. When it comes to solar, it's very simple. Instead of you paying PSE&G your electric bill, because again, PSE&G is one of the only utility companies I think in New Jersey that does gas as well, included in one bill.
Right.
JCP&L is only electric. That's the other big one. So PSE&G, we'll talk about them. They include gas and electric. So when you go solar, the point of going solar, right? Because there's misconceptions. Think, oh well, am I still gonna have a bill to PSE&G? If you get 100% offset, you will not get a bill from PSE&G for your electric side, right? So it's, essentially, whatever he owes on his electric bill, it's going to be zero, right? Aside from a membership fee. Now, what they mean by a membership fee, essentially for being connected to the grid, you have to pay a membership fee. Just like a HOA, something similar to that
Are
effect.
we paying $200 a month?
No. So the HOA, that's a great question. So as far as the membership fee, it's typically like anywhere less than $10 a month. So for example, it could be $6. But, and it's a big but, if your solar professional knows what they're doing,
It's zero.
it would be zero. Why? Because there's something called net metering. Net metering is basically credits that you can receive from the utility company for overproducing energy.
Got it.
Right? I know you guys probably see those commercials, get paid to go solar. I mean,
Yeah.
they really nonchalant about it. There's a lot of weird ads out there too as well. But I'll just touch on the net metering part. That's what they mean, get paid to go solar. Whenever your system overproduces, you will get a credit from the utility. That credit should cover that membership fee for the whole year. So you shouldn't receive anything from
What about gas?
PSE&G. Gas is a totally separate thing.
So
that has nothing to do with electricity.
Whatever the gas came in, I'm paying for it. Like in my.
But in regards to gas, again, you have the net metering. So if your solar professional is doing their job the way they should be, and it's a little bit over 100% offset, that means that extra credit that you're getting not only helps you with the membership fee, but also helps you with some of your gas bill.
Got it.
So I was able to help customers to cut a little bit of the gas, but also get rid of that membership fee.
I've heard people that did baseboard heating, right? So they don't have to worry about paying for gas, right? So there's no gas bill anymore. They have an electric stove.
Yeah.
Everything is electric in their house because they're kind of going off the grid now. And they're just using solar as power. And so now the bill is only one bill, no gas. It's all electrical.
Right. So at that point, depending on the size of their roof, right?
Right.
So a lot of people would want more than 100% offset, but if your roof is not big enough to fit the panels, you're not going to be able to get that.
Right.
So that's more of a case by case, but that's definitely possible and it can definitely be done for sure.
So we're still waiting for the untold story, right?
Of the payment. So
no.
What is it?
What's the average? What's the average payment? Before we get into
That's
that,
hard to say, man.
The average 200, 250,
that's like
300.
That's like me asking you, what's your average cost for a roof?
Yeah, the average cost for a roof is $15,000. That's the average cost.
Is it really?
That's it. Yeah, it's 15
Wow,
from
that's a
$8
lot.
to $15,000.
Yeah,
From
8 to 15. Yeah, 8 to 15.
That's a $7,000 difference.
Yeah.
And when
So-
I say no, I'm being truthful.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a little small cape, that's about 14, 13 squares. It's not that much.
So it's the same thing with solar. So
Right,
you're looking at someone
but-
that uses
but-
more energy than others that don't.
Right, so
That's hard
I
to
would say the average ticket is 15,000. That's what
the average. Okay, so
the average.
I'll give you an example. Like I gave you an example earlier about a 10,000 kilowatt system. You're looking
Right.
at your payments are like around 150, right?
Oh, that's
but
not
again,
bad. That's good.
But again, you're not including the S rack because the S rack right? That bumps it down that extra amount as well.
Okay.
Depending how many kilowatts that system produces, right? So you're not only talking about your solar payment, but you're also including the incentives as well. And if I didn't make it clear earlier, the owning option is definitely the best option. Don't go leasing,
Yeah. No,
But
buy it
definitely,
out. Buy it out.
Buy it out, own it. It's definitely the best option. So yeah, I would say about 150, 175, and we're talking about in New Jersey because again, I have systems that are way bigger in Massachusetts, for example. You're looking at an average payment of $250
Right.
because they use way more electricity and their rates are absolutely insane.
Okay, they're much higher.
They're much higher. Florida, right? The sun is pretty much out almost all year long.
So
So,
it's
what
lower?
happened? No, it's more because
It's more. Wow.
yeah, because
bigger.
think about it. The AC is really one of the biggest components
yes.
that brings up
Produces
your
energy
electricity bill. So they're having that AC on a lot longer than we are here in New Jersey. So it really depends on the market and what state you're in. Yeah, so that's why solar is so popular in California. All those states that are hot like a lot longer than here in New Jersey. So
we want to hear the crazy. We want to hear the solar flying off the roof.
fly out the roof. Yeah.
We want to hear what because what happens if a branch breaks the panel? There's a branch. It cracks the panel. It cracks 4 panels. What are you gonna do? Who do I call? There's no electricity now.
No, you're pretty much done.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just kidding. No, but essentially, yeah. I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, again, there's a warranty in place for that, right? Natural disasters depends on the warranty, guys.
Does my insurance pays for it, or does the insurance for the solar company pays for it?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question. Yeah. Got some good questions.
Ooh,
I like
yeah.
that, man. You came prepared for that.
Yeah.
So
I did my
essentially, when it comes to the solar warranty, you want to read it, right? Every warranty is different. As far as us, a lot of companies offer a 25-year warranty. We offer 30. But it's a specific warranty, right?
Is it
bumper
prorated?
to bumper? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Bumper to bumper, anything that happens, natural disasters, we cover that, right? That's part of the warranty. By the way, they pay for that warranty too.
Got it.
So people
They're
think,
paying.
it's included. No, they pay for that warranty.
Right.
Right.
Because it's a bumper to bumper.
It's a bumper to
different.
bumper. It's a little bit different.
Because if not, if they don't have that, then I guess the insurance company will take care of it.
The insurance company, yeah, absolutely, it will.
Yeah.
But again, versus I would say, I've had situations where the roofing company, the solar company doesn't really have that bumper to bumper warranty. Then in that case, you deal with your insurance. But what's faster? It would be the solar company. Yeah, absolutely, because the insurance company is dealing with thousands of claims, right? I mean, versus the solar company. So that's very important to understand. But again, if something like that happened, God forbid, that would be in the bumper to bumper warranty that we would take care of it. Now to the crazy solar.
Yeah, so we want to hear from you.
Yeah. I mean, I will be honest, I've never heard of panels flying off a roof. Maybe you have, but that's probably a story for another day. But as far as a horror story for installation, so this was this was really bad. And again, I felt bad for the customer because the customer
was it 2 or 3 years ago? 5?
This was
6 years ago.
No, it's about. I would say this was actually 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, right? But you live and you learn with every company. You understand what works and what doesn't. But essentially, this, I don't know what happened to the installer. They must have had a really bad day. They're bringing up the panels, and as the customer is bringing up the panels, I'm sorry, not the customer, the installer, whoever they choose for that crew, was bringing up the panels. One of the panels falls through the window
of the house.
Ooh. Yeah. So
that was a skylight.
Yeah.
They were installing.
Yeah, but the side window.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Imagine
the skylight. You get it?
So essentially, when I got the call, hey man, and unfortunately, this is one of my friends too. And I'm like, oh, dude, come on, And I'm like, well, what happened? And apparently, OSHA, right?
OSHA came up.
They weren't doing the job correctly. I guess there's a specific way you have to bring the panels up.
Panels up, right?
Right. It's like they use this harness that they use, and whatever the case may be. I forget the name of it, but there's a specific way you do things for a reason. Right. Things slip, someone fall. Not only did that panel fall through the roof, so did the worker.
Ooh, was he hanging?
He was on the ladder. I don't even know how it happened. I wish I would have got a video about this. Believe me, I hold a whole conversation with the customer, and he somehow fell through his living room. Man, it was pretty sad. It was like, what happened, dude? Like what? So, long story short, that ended up being an extra $3,000 to $4,000 of a job there, on top of whatever the customer. And again, we had to eat it, right?
Right, exactly.
So the point is, I was like, I felt so bad my commission was like a lot less.
It's right.
Because of that, right? I was like, listen, I'm gonna pay for some of this because
now.
Unfortunately, it was a hard day. Yeah.
But the thing about it is it's family and you want to take care.
Right.
And if you have that same concept, guys, if you have that same concept that every client of yours is your family, you're going to treat them well. You're always going to treat them well. You're always going to take care of them. You know, it's never, listen, oh no, they're not family, so I'm not going the extra mile. You're going always the extra mile. So guys, there you have it. We had Jay here. If you're ready for solar, he's the guy. You can follow Jay.
Where do they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Jay Saldana, JaySaldana. On Instagram, that's pretty much where I do all my contacts. And on Facebook, it's the same thing as Jay Josue Saldana. So if you want to contact me, let's help you go solar.
And get you a free quote. Or if not, you can always, DM me and I'll pass the information.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And there you have it, man. Great conversation on solar, especially if you guys didn't have any understanding about solar. Yeah. You got it today, at least a basic understanding. Don't do lease. Buy it all out and then go with your monthly payment. So don't forget to like, to subscribe, to leave a comment below. We're still looking for that homeowner that hired the crazy contractor. I want you on my podcast. We want to kick it off. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what really went on. And we want a perspective of the homeowner that went through that experience, right?
Or both.
Or both.
Or a homeowner that gives hell to
yeah, I have those.
I thought you had one already of that video.
Yeah,
we do. Okay. Yeah.
All right, there you guys have it. Keep watching.